So we were sent home with the songbook from the camp. This happened a few years in a row, and that's what opened my eyes to the fact that chords could be useful, and they actually help us to accompany the melody. So that set me off exploring, and also exploring the 12-bar blues and how all that fitted into fun, which I'd never really known about before.
Hey teachers, it's Tim here again, and you're listening to another episode of the Topcast. This is episode number 238, and as always, you can head over to topmusic.co/episode 238 to get today's links and a full transcript, and we have a freebie I'll tell you about in just one moment. I always love episodes where I get the opportunity to bring on one of our Top Music Pro members to talk about the ways that they've been using some of the ideas and lesson plans and strategies that we provide inside the membership in their own teaching. And today we're bringing along the fabulous Roslyn Walters, who's an Australian teacher who's been using our Creativity Kickstarters. These are our one-page PDF downloads with one little simple idea, and she's taken this and built it into a whole format and theme for teaching composition and exploring composition and improvisation with her students. Wait till you hear what she's done with some of these ideas. She's got compositions, she's helped students make their own compositions, and today we're actually going to hear the audio of students playing both the compositions she's created for her students based on our Creativity Kickstarters, and also we're going to hear from a student himself who's performing one of his compositions that he created in Roslyn's classes. So I can't wait to share that with you. And I'm even more excited that Roslyn has actually been kind enough to share a PDF download, it's a number of pages, of her process for teaching chords. It's her chord teaching process, and we talk about it during this episode. So if you'd like to grab and download a copy of that for free now, just head to the show notes page topmusic.co/episode 238, and you'll be able to download her entire process. So I've got to thank Roslyn heaps for sharing that with us. It's just super, super helpful because I know it's going to connect with a number of you because of the way that she streams and themes her approach to teaching improvisation and creativity, and also how she brings in resources from a number of other sources, including people like Daniel McFarlane and his Supersonics, Encore Music Publishing, and a variety of different sources to pull together and to contribute to the approach that she uses. I can't wait to get started with today's episode. My guest today, Roslyn, her passion is to teach and encourage people of all ages to develop their musical skills and to help them believe that they can do it. She's taught piano and classroom music for over 20 years and has experience teaching adults and children, beginners and advanced grades, exams, and music for leisure and for fun. Welcome to the show, Roslyn Walters. Thanks so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. I've been listening to your podcast for years, and I never thought I would be in one of them.
Well, you are one of our members. You've been a member for a number of years, and I just love doing these member spotlight episodes where we can shine a light on some of the cool things that you are doing with your students using some of the resources that you've got access to in Top Music Pro membership. So it's an honor to have a bit of a chat with you today. So why don't we start with you just letting us know a little bit about where you're based and the kind of teaching and the students you're looking after at the moment.
So I just have a home studio in Dingley in Melbourne. I have around 30 students, and last year I had 40, but I lost about 10 due to lockdown, but they're gradually finding their way back again. And they range from beginners up to about grade 4 exam level. And my oldest student is 85, and she's great and lots of fun.
That's great. Tell us about your own musical upbringing. Did you have a fairly traditional education as a piano student?
Yes, absolutely. So I was taught strictly by reading and taking exams. When I was 15, I started to attend church youth camps, and I became aware of the connection between the chord symbols and how to accompany the melody. So we were sent home with the songbook from the camp. This happened a few years in a row, and that's what opened my eyes to the fact that chords could be useful, and they actually help us to accompany the melody. So that set me off exploring, and also exploring the 12-bar blues and how all that fitted into fun, which I'd never really known about before.
Isn't that sad? I hadn't really known about fun in my music education. It's just awful.
And then in later years, playing in the church band, I learned a lot about chord progressions, lead sheets, the chord symbols on the word sheets, and what do you do with them all? So how do you make up your own chord accompaniment patterns? So that's been a great learning ground. And when I was at uni doing my Bachelor of Music Education, basically, again, it was just formal, traditional reading and exams. But once I left uni, then I really began my own education, my own self-education, and I did a postgraduate certificate in Orff music, which was all about whole body learning. And so I base my teaching of younger students on that approach.
Wow. It's really interesting to hear the worship music, the church service connection, because I had that growing up as well. It made me want to learn the pipe organ, which I did for a while, and playing in church bands was hugely instructive to me for being able to, 1, accompany, 2, play in bands, 3, keep a steady beat, 4, to understand chord progressions, because you're thrown in, you've got a lyric line and a chord chart, and you're like, whoa, what do I do with this? So I had a very similar experience where that taught me so much about music. So it's great to hear that the similarities there.
Yeah, it's great.
So it sounds like you had quite a traditional upbringing, but then really had your eyes opened, I guess, to the realities of music making through your university and into your early adulthood. Can you remember because you've been a member for about 3 years now, how would you have described your teaching before you joined us?
Oh, well, I've always explored different ideas. I use the usual tutor books that one would use, but I've always been developing and trying out new things. So about 6 or 8 years ago, I joined the Australasian Music Teachers Facebook group and benefited greatly from a lot of new insights. That then helped me discover Daniel McFarlane's music, which revolutionised my teaching, and that's helped especially to engage the older boys. And then through him, I heard your podcast about your top 10 or 15 best Daniel McFarlane pieces. So then that introduced me to some of your podcasts. And I've also done a lot of training with Mark Gibson and his encore on keys. And I think he's excellent. He's got a great approach because he mixes up a lot of the Yamaha ideas, group ideas, as well as traditional, all sorts of things, playing in lots of keys. And so I more or less mix those 3 approaches now, as well as traditional exam system.
Right, yeah, and it's that flexibility and mixing that is, I think, is so crucial these days because our students are so diverse. Having a pool of different resources that you can build on and pull into your own teaching can be really beneficial because our students need that flexibility of approach these days. Can you remember many of your sort of struggles and worries that you've had in your teaching, in the last 5 or 10 years, perhaps before joining us?
Well, mainly it's just a lack of confidence in my own skills and also how to remain relevant to my students. So when I had 2 teenage daughters at home, I was much more in touch with popular culture. But once they left home, well, then basically I lost touch. And I wasn't too sure how to go about bridging the gap between the interests of young people and my lack of knowledge. So I think that's where your top music has helped to bridge that gap. And I know I can always listen to, your 4-chord composing series and your How to Teach Popular Music series, and they've been brilliant because they've just sparked off so many ideas. And now I feel I have the confidence and I can just add that into the general mix of everything that I'm doing. And most students seem engaged and seem happy and motivated.
And it's great to hear those ways in which some of the resources that you can pick and choose from inside the membership can contribute to that change in your own teaching approach. So that's great to hear. Sorry if you can you hear Bronson in the background? He always starts crying. I hit record on a podcast and the cat cries. It's like clockwork.
He's a regular contributor.
Oh my goodness, it's so funny hearing the YouTube comment, seeing in the YouTube comments is like, was that a cat in the background? Anyway, makes it more real, I guess. So today's episode, we're going to actually unpack the way you've used some of the resources specifically with your students and how you go about how you've kind of formulated your own approach to teaching chords, which is just it's so great to actually read through. We're going to have a talk about that in a moment, but. Is there any other ways in which the membership has contributed to your growth or creativity or flexibility or confidence or even the business side of what you do?
I think connecting me up with a whole community of people who are like-minded in their thinking, because you've introduced a whole new movement worldwide, and your ideas have been out there, but they haven't been gathered together collectively. So with the Alyssa Milne's Facebook pages that she's set up and all the music Facebook pages that have popped up, and your ideas and Daniel McFarland and Mark Gibson, all their ideas have all added to such a wealth and variety of approaches. So we as teachers can now appeal much more to a wide range of students, and we feel empowered to know what to do with them. And it's how to address modern culture, which changes at the speed of light, but how to address that, especially when you're not in touch with it yourself with your own children. So I think just providing lots and lots of ideas as a starting board, and that's what I've really appreciated. So having been a primary school music teacher, I'm used to working with ideas and lesson plans and thinking on feet, but I've just appreciated having all the ideas as the foundation that I can then build on.
Well, you sent us a lovely couple of videos recently based on your experience using one of our monthly member resources, and we call these Creativity Kickstarters. So can you just tell us quickly about what these are like, and then we'll go into how you've used one?
So I've only used one of them, Epic Sus Chords. During lockdown last year, I was looking for ideas, and since I like to teach a chord approach to my students anyway, I saw the chord, Epic Sus Chords, and I thought, oh, that's brilliant. That gives me all the ideas I need for a term's work and base my term 2 composition.
Wow, that's amazing. So this is one sheet of music, everyone, who, if you're not inside the membership, our Creativity Kickstarters are basically 1 or 2 pages with one simple idea. And this one we've called Epic Sus Chords. So sus being suspension chords, the ones that sound a bit like this. Or you could do it minor as well. I'm not sure if the sound's coming through too well, but just in case people aren't too sure, what on earth is an Epic Sus chord?
Yes, well, what I try to do with any ideas is that first we learn it as it's written and I explain how it worked. Then I invited the students to improvise some ideas, either grand epic sus chords where they're moving all over the piano with big grand ideas, or they're doing little waterfalls and fairies sus chords up in the top range of the piano. So I think most of them enjoy that. They find it a bit challenging, a bit threatening, some of them, but they all enjoy the result. And then we didn't get to handwrite them, which I would normally do, but we used the improvisations for their mid-year concert piece. So
brilliant.
This one was basically just they had to remember it or record it. Now, normally in term 2 every year, I do a major composition with my students, and one of the excellent things about having an adult daughter who's also a musician, she knows how to use MuseScore. And so she, in 2019, we had this great thing happening where my students would handwrite their composition, then they'd take it to my daughter Christy for a half-hour lesson, which they paid her for, and they'd come out beaming. They'd actually had a printed piece of music and they'd done it in half an hour, and here it was. They were just thrilled with the result. And so was my daughter, thrilled with all the income.
Win-win.
Yeah. Unfortunately, she's not available anymore, so I'll have to learn how to use it, but I'm not as confident as her.
And what did your students think when you've clearly had quite a creative approach generally to your teaching, but did they show a particular interest in this style of idea with just a simple idea that they can then explore in their own composition?
Oh, I think most of them rose to the challenge.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
enjoyed it? Well, they definitely
yeah,
enjoyed
I
it
think
because
so.
we've heard the results. And why don't we talk about Waterfall first? Because as I
Yes,
understand it, you've taken the sus chord Kickstarter sheet and then created your own composition based on that, and then you've given that to a student. So that's kind of one process. And in another way, you've also used this as a complete composition from scratch, and we can play in a moment an excerpt of one of your students playing their own composition. Have I got that right? There's kind of two approaches there.
yes.
Yeah, why don't you? Well, firstly, tell us about your composition Waterfall, and then we'll have a listen to your student playing it.
Well, I have a rule that any challenge I set my students, I have to master the challenge first, of course, that's
Hmm.
fair enough. And so I thought, okay, how do I write a piece based on epic sus chords? Because I've never been taught composition, I've just had to work it out myself. So I took the chord pattern. First of all, I turned the chords into broken chords and played them descending. Then my second variation was the same chords played ascending. Then my third variation were the chords played contrary motion. And my fourth variation were the chords ascending in the major key. So I just used 4 simple variation techniques, and there you go, there's Waterfall.
Fantastic. Well, why don't we have a listen to your student, Kalen? Is that his name?
That's right.
Playing Waterfall now. Here we go. So, it's so lovely to hear students get so engaged by a real pattern based piece like that. Did you notate that and then teach it via the score, or did you do it more by rote?
Well, fortunately, my daughter was available to have a lesson with me, and she taught me to notate it
Hmm.
on MuseScore. And then I taught the students from the written piece, but because they already knew the pattern, it was more or less rote. I just explained how the patterns worked and off they went. So it
Mm,
was a combination.
great. And what do you think your students liked about that piece in particular?
Students really like patterns. They like the
Mm.
regularity of patterns, and they like moving their arms and their bodies in time, especially students that are more kinesthetic in their approach. And of course, they like creating interesting sounds with some surprises included.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Mm.
And I know some of the method books I've used in the past too have those big grand chords. If you take just a C minor chord and play it arpeggiated up or down the piano and put the pedal down, you suddenly have this huge soundscape. And it's amazing how simple ideas with a bit of movement up and down the instrument and the pedal can really bring a composition like that to life. So thank you for
Oh, it's
letting us
great fun.
share Kalen's playing.
Mm.
And we've got another recording to listen to now. So why don't we listen to Tam? Now, he's going to play his own piece, which is called Mystery at Midnight. So let's have a listen to that. So, Roslyn, this is Tam's own composition, right?
Yes.
So how did you go about working on this with him?
Well, once he'd learned epic sus chords, then he did his grand chord improvisation and he did his fairies and waterfalls improvisation. And then I said, all right, how can we turn this into a composition, as in written composition? So he put a lot of time exploring the epic sus chord patterns, and he didn't stick to them exactly, but that's fine. And he was particularly proud of his dynamics.
I was just going to say that. There was one thing I really noticed, and it's something that students often miss when they're composing because they're so busy wondering about form and notes. He really, really focused on dynamics. It was great. That was his own choice.
Yeah, and it was very dramatic, and he really put a lot of thought into that. And I think he's very proud of himself. And the fact of having his piece played on your Top Music interview, he's beside himself with excitement.
International radio station.
Yeah. And in fact, later on, the piece Waterfall and Tam's piece Mystery at Midnight and another piece I've written, Bouncy Blues, will all be for sale in the Top Music marketplace.
Fantastic.
Just in case other teachers would like to get some ideas from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So by the time this interview is live, they'll be up in the marketplace. So if you want to check them out, head to our show notes page for today's episode and we'll put the link in there. Or just go over to Top Music Marketplace and search for Waterfall or Mystery at Midnight, or what was the other one?
Bouncy Blues.
Bouncy Blues. Love it. Now, you mentioned in our correspondence when we were doing a bit of research and digging into what you were doing that you've actually created a whole process around teaching chords to students, and you've written it all out. It's phenomenal. Can you give us a quick overview of it?
Yes, well, there will be an overview of this in the show notes later, so I won't go into a lot of details, but a lot of my process is based on ideas from Top Music and from Daniel McFarlane and from Mark Gibson and from triggers that I find in all their pieces. So when a student's very early, about the fourth lesson, I'd start with just white note chords and we'd compose a song based on the C chord song using things like broken chords, solid chords, high, middle, low notes, loud, soft, fast, slow, imitating animal gestures and sounds, varying rhythms, all that sort of thing. And generally they really enjoy that, although some of them are a bit lost, but generally they enjoy that. And then after a few months, I would go into the white note major and minor chords when they need to know about sharps and flats for their pieces. Then when we do the 12-bar blues chord patterns, I get them to do a composition based on G6, F6 and C6 chords. So once again, it takes a bit to get their head around it, but anyway, that's a good one. And we use the same elements of music that I use for the original C chord pattern.
And the C, you use chords with 6 in them. So that's like a C, E, G, A, because that suits a walking bass. Is that why you use that?
Well, they're in the version of the 12-bar blues melody that I teach.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So if anyone's listening and wondering what's C6, A6, whatever, that's just a chord with the 6th note added.
Yeah. And then I go on and teach major and minor pineapple chords. This is just something I've devised, and I
love the sound of this. You got to tell us more about this.
Well, I believe that Tim has an audio recording which he can play or include in the show notes.
Yeah. Well, should we have a listen to it now, or do you want to describe it and then have a listen to it?
Well, I describe it as I go through the audio.
Let's have a listen to that now.
Pineapple juice. Once we've done it in the major key, then we do the minor key. And the challenge for young children is to play it nice and a steady marching beat. So I prefer they start like this. Pineapple, pineapple. Yes. Then I follow that up with a piece by Climbing by Robin McLaughlin. And you can't buy this in shops anymore, but you can get it on Amazon in a small volume of pieces for about $8.
Mm-hmm.
And the students just love this piece because, as I said, they love the patterns, they love moving their bodies, and the parents beg me, please move on to a new piece. We've heard this one 100 times. But it's based on pineapple chords. So it's just based on major and minor chords. And it's terrific. It's a great song. Good concert piece.
Mm.
So after we've mastered all that.
And sorry, actually, Roslyn, we've got a recording of Climbing as well, I think, haven't we?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, all right, let's have a listen.
And at some stage, I give the students all a piece called the Harp Song, which is in Alfred's chord approach level 1. And from this song, it's just based on the tonic chord and the dominant chord. So from there, I teach all the white note, major and minor, tonic and dominant chords. So that gives the students a good idea of how to get the two chords into their muscle memory. And later on, we move into the 3 main chords. So they've already done tonic and dominant, and then we add the subdominant. During lockdown last year, it was actually my significant birthday in May. So I thought, well, I'm going to get all the students to sing and play me happy birthday. And I found a version which had the 3 chords in the key of F. And I got permission from Mark Gibson to use his piece Swing in F. So they all learnt the 3 chords to the backing track, Mark Gibson's backing track, Swing in F, and they all played and sang me happy birthday, and it was just wonderful. It made my birthday very happy.
That's great.
Then getting back to my chord process, after we've done 3 main chords in every key, we can use them in our composition. So I think on the handout that I've included, I've also mentioned the different ideas I've had for compositions.
Right.
So the first one was based on Daniel McFarlane's Supersonic Call and Response, where we used 3 chords in the key of C. The second one was based on 4 chord sequences, which I got the idea from Top Music. And the most popular one was based on Matador from Mark Gibson's piece in his Achiever 1 book. And being a Spanish-sounding piece, the students ended up writing lots of Spanish-sounding music. So they really enjoyed it, and we had a great time. And then last year, our composition was based on epic sus chords. And then this year, our composition will be based on 12-bar blues. So we'll be doing a whole improvisation unit leading up to their composition.
Wow. And that, I mean, you've gone into far more detail in the handout. So we've got a handout you can actually download. Roslyn, thank you so much for sharing this, can I just say, giving away all your years of experience and secrets. But if you'd like to download that, then head to the show notes page. We've got a link there that you can grab the outline of what she's just been talking about, but going into a little bit more detail. And I just love, Roslyn, that you take, you've, as I think I mentioned before, you've got your sort of key resources, areas, people that you follow and the music that you like. And the way that you bring it into your own teaching, I think is just so both creative but also structured and comprehensive too. And I think we can all learn from that over the time
No,
you've been
great.
able to create this process. So thank you very much for sharing that.
Hey, thanks.
Sorry, was there anything else in regard to the process before we move on?
Well, I was just going to mention that with the compositions, something I've introduced that the students really enjoy is that I choose the top 6 or 8 compositions, and once they're printed, then I have them for sale for $1 to other students. So then other students can learn each other's compositions, and then quite a few of them choose to play them in our interview concert. So the students become published and their pieces are performed.
Yeah, that I can only imagine how much I would have loved that as a kid, to see someone else have my music on their stand and play it at a concert. And what a great, and it's such a circular kind of result that you've created in your studio, that one thing leads to another, leads back to the younger students and they'll want to compose and they'll see themselves on stage. And I just think it's phenomenal. Well done on creating such a great system. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'd love to finish with just a quick look at your experience of being a Top Music Pro teacher, and just trying to think back, if you can. Can you remember how you came across Top Music Pro membership? I think you mentioned it may have been via Daniel and some online groups.
So it started off with the Music Teachers Facebook page, where I learnt about Daniel McFarlane. And then through Daniel McFarlane's Supersonic Facebook page, then I heard your rundown of your top picks of his pieces. And then on my Facebook news feed, you kept popping up. So that's the power of Facebook news feeds. And then on one of the podcasts, you were offering to non-members to learn about how to teach 12-bar blues. So I thought, yes, I need to know that. So I hopped on and I was totally impressed with what you had to offer, and I joined up, and it's just been a wealth of ideas. So very pleased I joined up.
That's great. Oh, thank you. I wonder if that might have been one of my early webinars. The 12-bar blues. I remember it actually. Yeah, when and we've talked a little bit about the Creativity Kickstarters. We've also talked about the 4-chord composing course, but that's only one of 35 or so courses that we have in Top Music Pro membership. And one of the other ones is a 10-module course on teaching the 12-bar blues. For anyone, you can start at the absolute basics, know nothing about the blues or chords or anything, and we can get you started. And it is so much fun. I mean, I love being able to have students be able to kind of, which of course sounds incredibly complex, but is really easy when you know a few tricks. And I just love sharing those.
Well, it's a good thing you just mentioned that course, because I'll be studying it over the April holidays, ready to teach my students in term 2.
Fantastic.
Ready for our composition.
It's great, really. It's great how you break up the terms and have different focuses each term, and you kind of theme the structure of your teaching. I really like that as well.
Thanks.
Can you remember what your first experiences were like? I know it's going back a few years, but first experiences in Top Music Pro?
Well, I just kept saying to my husband, wow, this is fabulous. I can use this idea today. And I did. First experiences.
That's great. Yeah, just being able to take those quick wins and just bang straight into and have success in your studio. We love that. And therefore, I don't know if this is possible for you to answer, but have you got a best thing about Top Music Pro membership?
Well, I think just mentioning what I said earlier, that it's given me a lot of confidence as a teacher, knowing that I'm on the right track, and also that it helps me to bridge the gap between how to teach popular and contemporary music to somebody who can get stuck and who isn't involved with contemporary music very much.
Right, yeah.
So that would have to be, just the wealth of ideas.
Wonderful. And great. Finally, last question. Is there anything that you'd say to someone who's been listening to the podcast for a while, a little bit on the fence about joining? What would you say to them?
Oh, just jump in. It's totally worth it.
I'm glad to hear it. Thank you, Roslyn, so much for joining us on today's show. I really do love getting to know what members are doing with these resources and just how much success they're having. And you are taking this to another level completely. So where can people find out more about you? Do you have a studio website? we've mentioned some things in the show notes, but have you got your own resources or website?
Well, I do. I'm just about to launch a new updated website. So it will be called pianolessonmelbourne.com.au. It's not quite there yet, but as one of Glory St. Germain's ultimate music theory elite educators, which
Right.
sounds very, very good, that's another gap I've been working on, is how to teach theory. So I've carefully crafted the website to build my group theory classes. So that's the next
Great.
thing that I'm expanding into. And once again, I heard about Gloria St. Germain and her ultimate music theory through Top Music.
There you go. Yeah, we love what Glory does.
Yeah. I take risks. I jump in. I say, yes, I'll do that. And off we go.
Good on you. Yeah. It's great too because, you've been teaching for a while and still trying to do new things, learning new things, updating. And I think it's great to see that passion and drive. It's still there, stronger than ever, which is wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll have links to Roslyn's chord process and links to her music. If you'd like to go and explore it with your students, you can download it at the Top Music Marketplace. All of that will be on our show notes page. Thank you so much, Roslyn, for joining us for today's show.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks so much, Tim.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's interview with Roslyn and can see how the power of just some simple ideas that she's got from Top Music Pro membership can build into a really immense foundational series of exercises and experiences for her students in creativity. As I mentioned at the start, Roslyn has been kind enough to share this entire process. She's written it all down as part of this interview, and she's sharing it with you for free. If you want to grab that, head to topmusic.co/episode 238. Also on that page, we've got a link to our Creativity Kickstarter. So we're actually going to give you the Creativity Kickstarter that Roslyn used to create the works that you heard her students play today. So if you want to grab that one as well and see what kind of resources we give our members each and every month inside Top Music Pro, this is just one of the things that our members get every month, then head to that show notes page. Once again, topmusic.co/episode 238. Next week on the podcast, I'm delighted to be interviewing a cherished composer over in the UK by the name of Karen Marshall. If you haven't connected with Karen before, you're going to absolutely love hearing from her. You're going to hear how she kind of fell into composition in many ways, how she built a career in marketing and PR before that, how she was lately diagnosed or had a late diagnosis with dyslexia as an adult and how that's changed her approach, and some of the great work that she's doing in her various publications. Until next week, I'm Tim Topham, and you've been listening to the Topcast from topmusic.co. I'll speak to you next week. Bye-bye. For more information about this episode and to find out how to enhance your own teaching, visit topmusic.co. You'll find everything you need for your studio, from lesson plans to cheat sheets, quick win teaching ideas, and guides on how to build your teaching business. Plus, you'll be connected to a global community of the world's top music teachers. And when you're ready, join hundreds of other teachers around the world by becoming a Top Music Pro member and get access to all our bonus content and flagship courses. And don't forget to follow topmusic.co on social media and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to it. That's all for today. We'll see you in the studio.